Hello, this evening again, the 5th of November 2023 AD. Blessings for stopping this way. May this video bless you. Haze of praises to the one creator, to the one who made everything and everyone. Originally everything and everyone God creates is holy. In life we all have choices. Even the angels have choices, and of course we know that there was a there is the being that became the source of all evil, but who wasn't created that way, was created holy, as everyone else, but chose to rebel against the creator and to the real source of all evil. He just has so far stayed rebelling against the creator. And the creator, forever blessed, ever blessed, of course, haze of thank yous to the one creator, haze of praises to the one creator, and haze of blessings to you, Almighty Qemam, Elyon, Ua, Echad, Nefr, Neb, Kadosh, and J. That is only holy. As I said in my previous video, I believe in the one Godhead, the creator feminina, the mother, the creator masculina, the father, the creator feminina, the daughter, the creator feminina, the creator masculina, the son, and the spirit of the entire Godhead, the Qemam, the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of the Godhead, and each has their own Holy Spirit, and each has many names and many Uncreated, many Uncreated, many avatar, many selves. But all those selves are Godhead. The Godhead is distinct and uncreated above all that the one creator has made. And it's important to understand how the creator sees creation, family ties, blood ties, how to tell who is truly whose son or daughter, past all verbal deceptions, any use of magic, heka, to deceive, confuse. There are always ways of distinguishing and becoming certain as to who is truly whose son or daughter, and what it means, what their place in the family and their family's place in the region, the city, the original capital city, or north dukedoms or south dukedoms, and names and words. Many people are afraid of the word duke. It essentially means king, but of course all kingdoms are pyramids, and there's always a family at the top of the whole pyramid, and within that pyramid are all the other dukes, first of the original capital cities and of the 95 original kingdoms of the world, and then of the north dukedoms, and then of the south dukedoms. And aristocracy is in rank, as is the whole of a kingdom. It's a big pyramid, and lots of pyramids grouped together of nations are the continents, and there are 5 original continents of the world. And a duke is a king, but a king under the main king. It's not a slight, an insult to describe someone as a duke, because in the different languages of the world, there are different names. The said rulers, the rulers of Kanem, these days called Chad, the Mai, M for mother, A for alpha, I for India. Sometimes they're called emirs, sometimes they're called sultans, sometimes they're called Mansa. That Mansa as in Mansa Musa. He's actually a duke. Mali, that huge, important medieval kingdom. And of course, a dukedom can be called a kingdom. It's just really vital that people relearn, remember, or teach faithfully the difference between an original kingdom and dukedoms within that original kingdom that at different times have been given extra power through Iswe Ulelo. That is long performer. Sometimes it's a short one. Shorts may last 1,000 years or 500 or 50, but there's always the original long performer that's worth bearing in mind, even whilst we honour someone as vital and important to the world, really, not just to Kyalo as Mansa Musa. Now, where I was going to was to read a few names from the Hebrew Bible of people, because as I said in my previous video, the Creator honors, loves family. He created us. He created everyone out of love, because obviously God is love. And that's why the genealogies are in the Bible. And all the Nethertales, all the Bibles of the different kingdoms and ages of the world are talking about family. Sometimes a family member joins for a time and leaves, but family, it's central to life. It's meant to be the first loving, protective a grouping, bandla, of human beings. This is the blood tie of mother, father, children, the parents, their parents, all the children. We're meant to be a loving, protective, nurturing human entity. And we know it doesn't always work out that way. And sometimes even when it does, a certain family member like myself can't stay at home because this world is full of people sinning and choosing horrible ideas as to how to protect themselves, and it creates threats and to save a person they may have to be placed with a relative, as I was placed with my my mama's sister and my birth papa's cousin, my relative, as you may say, in Royaume, in Suten, of his father. So adopted people, even fostered persons, are rarely adopted or fostered away from a blood tie. They're either unknown to each other, a brother, sister, a daughter, a son, or a first cousin, sometimes a second cousin, but or a grandchild or grandparent. But even when it doesn't look like it, if you were to do a faithful test of paternity child, maternity child, or fraternity test, a sorority test, then you'd find that you're related nearly something like 98% of the time. Total upheaval, war, of course, when people have to literally run, they can't always run to family. But usually adopted, fostered people, if you're looking for who you are, you can just start with your national insurance number and one of those tests. If no one in the family, or even to each other, shares the same beginning of national insurance number, then they're a family compra. However it happened, because the Creator can move a baby through the skies with no one really knowing until they do a test years later. It happens a lot for millions of people, not just a few hundred. So it's the Creator's regular way of protecting the baby and the parents, because sometimes jealousy can see people threatening a baby, and the Creator, in the Creator's wisdom, can decide that the baby is better off. Not because the parents are unloving, or the parent who's with the baby, but just altogether. So before criticizing your parents, it's worth praying and doing a divinary, or finding someone to do a divinary, a pasha, an explorer, to find out what happened. If the created heavenlies, which includes our ancestors, are willing to let you know. Now, in Genesis chapter 11, 10, actually Genesis chapter 5, Genesis chapter 10, you can read them all. People fight over who is who. The Bible, yes, it's the Hebrew Bible, but it's come from the Creator. So the whole world is included. It's just a matter of learning how or to tell who is meant by which name. Names of person, names of nations, because they repeat through each kingdom of the world. So as you're looking at Adam, there is the Hebrew Adam. Before him, because the world began in Kyalo at EmboKuu in the Nile Valley, there's Atum. Now, depending on which genealogy you're referring to, there is also R and R, feminina and masculina with the same name, of Egypt, of Kyalo to see Masr, Mizraim. It's all fascinating. It's all patterned because the Creator does everything in patterns. And so even our lives, sometimes the reason that all the fairy tales and the folk tales of different nations and different regions of the world from different eras read are so similar is because of the synchronicities, the concurrences of lives and often names of people who just live such similar lives. It's sometimes it's just the same events, are the same kind of king, the same kind of queen, the same kind of heroes, and the same kind of sheroes, and the same kind of enemies pop up time and time again, because it's just one of the fascinating facets of life on earth. We could do without the horrible, of course, but there's always the heroes. There's always someone willing to speak up and do what is necessary. Never give up total hope that eventually, past all the distress, good will happen. There is also the concept of the Sed son. Sed, the prince of the Sed in Kyalo Mizraim, its meaning is the son, the eldest son of the reigning or previous pharaoh, said pharaoh, with his squared-o wife, who may not be the great royal wife seated next to him on the throne. It could be that that lady bears the child, but if you do a paternity maternity test, you'll see that the squared-o wife is the main mama Gadamu Gaigazi, the song of blood, and that's the said son, and it matters altogether. It affects families, it affects how people are treated, whether honorably or fought unjustly. It affects nations and how we all interact with each other, how we understand who we are to each other, by blood and justly. The just is meant to include a warmth of appreciation and emotion, especially if you're family to the said prince, to the said king. Each of the original 95 kingdoms, to this day, there is a said king. And of the 68 warras, there's the original capital city is 26 warras or boroughs of each of the original 95 kingdoms of this earth. Then there are the 26 warras or dukedoms or enea of the north of that kingdom, and the 26 of the south. So each, even though it looks as if that isn't the case, because a dukedom can be referred to as extinct, a family line can be referred to as extinct, or even a kingdom can look as if, like Armenia, it can look as if it hasn't got a said royal family, hasn't got a said king, but it has. It's just a matter of knowing who they are and how to tell who they are. The same understanding, the same formula, the same law, the same methods since there were the first two human beings and their children and their grandchildren is the same, because it's come from the one creator. And it is so important to fight the said king and to fight his squared wife, to fight the said royal family, even if they have become poor or ended up slaves fighting in the arena, or have ended up seemingly working class and nobody, and they're working as a cleaner or a security guard. Or the babysitter. Who knows who you've employed? Who knows who you're working for? You or they may be by blood greater than yourself. Although for ease of the workplace, of the family life, even if we're greater, born over someone, if we're working for them, then we're meant to respect that. But they, in turn, are meant to respect who we are and give some royaume leeway and respect to us in the workplace. It doesn't mean that we don't do what they say, or but there's meant to be an ease. We're all meant to be acknowledging one another, holily. Right? It's not meant to, this earth is not meant to be a place of unjust. Now, one of the reasons for injustice between nations and within nations is failure to acknowledge and honor said royal families, said ducal families of original capital cities, failure to honor Cheo amongst us all. The person may be North Dukedom or South Dukedom, but of greater Cheo than yourself, even though you're capital city. Even though you're all family, even. But we're all meant to be honoring each other, even as we're respecting who the said royal family at the helm are. And not all said royal family members are living, even where there is a royal family, like here or Denmark, and many countries. The said king is actually living somewhere else. They're living in America. They're an actor. They're a musician. They're a singer. They're a journalist. They may or may not know who they are, or which nation exactly. And even the families at home, there is an English royal family. We've been blessed with Queen Victoria's children looking after Great Britain, looking after England. But remember, kingship is in the male line, and our royal family has come through the female line, through Queen Victoria. They've been holding the fort, and everyone in the family is royal, but not always of the country. One only of the Queen's children is actually by blood of these islands. And he's Welsh, not English. And everybody else, apart from the wives, Princess Diana, Sarah, Duchess of York, they're a mix going down the generations. But which doesn't mean we're supposed to hate them. It's just a matter of understanding, because the Creator wants people, just as the prophecies of the end are coming into being, into fruition, so is the original long performer, which has been with us since the 18th century and been fought at least since the 18th century. And the bottleneck of fights in the Middle East over who is who and who should reign where could be resolved tons more amicably if people would honor original kingdoms. Kyalo Judah, is the name, the original name of Israel. And obviously today Israel occupies the other 9 first kingdoms of the Middle East. Believe it or not, is mostly because people are arguing amongst themselves about who they are amongst those 9. It isn't so matter a matter of a 2-state solution, but a 10-state solution. And the first, according to prophecy, to be rebirthed after Israel is actually Moab, which is on the West Bank. What's known as the West Bank, even though when you look at the map, it's to the east of us. West of other Middle Eastern nations. But honoring Israel is key to all the other 9 nations, currently referred to as the Palestinians, having their kingdoms in turn, according to prophecy, rebirthed. It's not fighting the right of Israel to exist is such. Not only is it unjust, it's unholy. If you put that idea in the Muqaddas Ziwa, the holy pool in Arabic, yes, you'll see that Muqaddas doesn't approve, doesn't agree, tends to just eat it up, just end it. So you can't say it's a matter of I put it in the holy pool and I'm speaking English, or they put it in the Kadosh pool and he's speaking Hebrew and English. You put in any language. You put it in the holy pool, which because it's not the language, it's the meaning. So if you put it in the Muqaddas Ziwa, you'll see you're not meant to be fighting Israel. What everybody's meant to be doing is encouraging the prophecy to be adhered to. And I know lots of people are atheists and lots of people think it's only a matter of what somebody wants, but that is isfet. It's ma'at za, i.e. versus isfet. Isfet in that context meaning the wrong, evil kind of chaos that just causes unnecessary suffering and death. So as people, if you really care about your nations, and if you really care about the Palestinian people, then be pushing for the prophecy to be adhered to, because there is the first kingdom of the Middle East originally is Judah. Second, in what is now the northwest of Israel, is Canaan. And I know interchangeably over the years, the land has been known as Canaan, but that's because the Canaanites had a temporary long performer, Israel, of a few centuries, some time. They too, in turn, have been sent into exile as well, for the same reasons as Israel was sent into exile. And that's the situation in Genesis as to why Abraham was born in Ur of the Chaldees rather than in Jerusalem or Bethlehem or Tel Aviv. It's because the nation lots of the nation had been sent into exile, an earlier exile. All histories. But even looking at the national insurance numbers, you can see the progression according to the pattern that starts in Egypt and goes throughout Kyalo, the whole of Africa, and till comes to the Middle East and starts at Judah. Their Sedral family are Gulf Echo, and the 9th end letter is A for Alpha, of course, as for all royal and ducal Marquisate families. Ariston families. Yes. So, Canaan, their Sedral family are Gulf Uniform Echo, GUE. And the 9th end letter, of course, A for Alpha. Aram comes next. Their Gulf Uniform Echo, 9th end letter, A for Alpha. Amor, Gulf Uniform Alpha Echo, 9th end letter, A for Alpha. Gulf Uniform Bravo Echo is Moab. If it ends A for Alpha, it's the royal family. And Gulf Uniform Charlie Echo, GUCE, and letter A for Alpha is the Sedral family of Ammon. And so it continues. There are 10 royal families altogether in the Middle East. And learning how to tell who is who, it matters so much, because once you got that truthfully, accurately in your mind and in your speech and in your decision making, then instead of all these bottlenecks and getting angry because somebody came home to live in their own land. It's not fair. How are the Jewish people the only people on this earth who get criticized for doing so? If look around the world, they're the only people who get criticized for returning to their own homeland. And there has always been a Hebrew presence in the land of Judah, Israel. Always. These last 2,000 years, sometimes they've been the majority within these last 1,000 years. The history books, there's so much missing and hidden history that needs to be faithfully reprinted, republished. And even when you haven't got them, even if you don't pray or feel confident in asking the truth pool or the holy pool for truth and whether an idea is holy or a good idea, even if it is true, but is it a good idea for the moment, for the time? Learning the Royaume proofs of national insurance numbers, at least you can see for yourself if you are Hebrew or a Canaanite or an Aramite or an Amorite, and then you can regroup your kingdoms according to who you really are by blood, and with the Creator moving babies around the world and within kingdoms and within regions, within continents. That's not always everybody who's at home. Doesn't mean you don't love who you've grown up with, but we're meant to, because they've looked after us. But to know who you are, why, what it means that you are you. What is your calling? What does the Creator want with you? Why were you placed there? Why have you learned that language? Why that religion? Why that kind of school? Why the kind of music you like? The things you'd love to do, to achieve? Who are you? You start with who you are by blood. Ideally, if you can't find that out so easily, if people are pretending around you, denying national insurance numbers mean anything, and all this fearfully burst forth defenses of, no, it's just crazy. But it is true. And most of the elderly people who say that have either forgotten or they're too afraid of trying to explain. So don't be raging at people, please, for trying to get them to acknowledge that it's easily done. But raging can happen if you know that if they've hurt you a lot already. But if they haven't, if they've genuinely been loving to you, then you can always ask him and either which way you need to know for yourself, even if no one around the breakfast table or wherever you're living or currently living will talk faithfully to the Creator about it, of the Creator to you about it. But the other reason for mentioning the genealogies in the Hebrew Bible and is that it's all right to call your ancestors by name, to bring them into your living room, to your breakfast table, to your prayer life. They can assist with so much. Even people who got it wrong, got things wrong. Maybe you know that you have a Jack the Ripper in your life, in your family tree for certain, maybe directly. You don't have to make their mistakes. The 19th century Jack the Ripper was actually a person, but he's passed away. You can ask. If you're not sure, then simply ask for someone, an ancestor you know was holy and kind. Or just, if you're not sure about who they are, then just ask. Pray to the Creator first, and then remember you can ask the created Heavenlies as well for help in life, for help with the veracity of this message. I always say to people, learn to pray and divinary everything, every message, every history book, every news output. Has the journalist missed something? Are they being accurate? Did they ask the right people? Did they understand what was said? Did all sorts of things. With the best will in the world, a person can just mistake a situation according to what they understand and according to deceptive versions of the people they interview sometimes. So it's worth learning to divinary everything. and to be faithful with the truth that is revealed. Okay, blessings. Remember, Abraham, yes, has two sons, the elder Ishmael, the younger Isaac, but it is Isaac that is the said son of Abraham. And Ishmael is actually a Midianite. He's a Golf uniform Foxtrot Echo, ninth end letter of his national insurance number, A for Alpha. There's lots of hidden family life and nations life in between the lines of the Hebrew Bible, and every trying to read the genealogies of Kyalo to of Mizraim, Masr, Egypt. It's because adoption is not new. So go faithfully to the Creator, give your consciences a prayer life boost, and be honorable in your intentions. Be open to the fact you may have misunderstood people, ideas, a religious text, a situation that'll be born of people fighting what is holy and true, even if the followers, their reasons for following maybe just they didn't know, which happens a lot in this world, isn't it? So, yes. Blessings this evening. I know there's lots of emotion around because of all the distress, the killings, the violence, the not all violence and killing is wrong. Sometimes the defense has to happen. Sometimes justice has to happen. But sometimes it wouldn't have happened had people been willing to get to grips with and honor, in the Middle East case, a long performer. The original long performer is where the world is today, not that of 5,000 years ago, or even 400 years ago. We're at the time of the original long performer, and that immediate part of the Middle East that is now Israel is actually 10 original kingdoms, Judah and the following 9, until we come to Lebanon, Afghanistan, and then Arabia, Saudi Arabia, named after the Sedwell family, and then Iraq, and so on. 20 original kingdoms of the continent that is the Middle East. Yes, I'm square to the said Prince of Judah, but I have a heart for people, for being feminina, to normalize the subject. Human beings always have children through Reen and according to own, always, whoever the person is. And the feminina, our performer, are not always of the same nation. And so the Creator moving the babies around from our wombs, whether we're aware of the the creation of the baby or not, because we don't have to be involved. The Creator can do it. Take from yourself, take from the performer husband, or maybe your square-do husband, who is your main performer husband, if your national insurance number ends with an A for Alpha, B for Bravo, C for Charlie, D for David, E for Echo. And if one is Fellain and its ending is F for Foxtrot through to Z for Zeta, then you still have children through Vreen. So it's the human race. It's life on Earth. And so lots of our children are all sorts of different nations, wherever we are actually have a performer husband of that ethnicity, even if they don't live at home, even if they've never set foot in the country of their main paternal blood. It's life on earth. So I am performed because I'm performed to the said Prince of Judah, who is generation like myself, of course. I am the reigning Cleopatra. No, it's not Prince Harry. He's the young. Oh dear. Princess Diana and I are BXCH on our birth certificates, cousins. But what I mean is, I'm aware that in all this awful situation, I have Hebrew children and I have Canaanite children. I have Aramite and Amorite and children. I have children, so many children. not just in the Middle East, but in these islands of the whole of England. This is normal for feminina. You don't even need to meet the person. You don't have, God can do it while we're both asleep. Even our ovary cells don't have to, they don't have to meet. But the Creator does it. And if it's needed for the children to be born elsewhere or simply moved elsewhere manually by humans, sometimes that's happened and can be very holy protective reasons as to why. But anyway, as they say in South Africa, I read your comments on Twitter, we need to normalize talking about children born according to own, born through Reem. That is, the Holy Spirit takes, the Creator takes from our womb the egg and fuses it with the husband, that whether we know them or not, whether even seen them or not, and makes a baby and places it either in another feminina's womb, those are the ones that are born according to own, or the Creator simply swaps them on the delivery bed, on the delivery floor table. Their baby's being given to someone else and your baby is now with them, and it's usually imperceptible till later anyway. They may be the husbands but not the mothers, or the mothers but not the husbands, and it's the Creator's doing, and God does not make mistakes, and God is love. So we need to get used. Once again, the human race used to talk about this even in the 20th century quite openly, because it's part of life, and we need to know who the said kings, princes, dukes, heirs are, and their squares, at least which nation, because it matters so much. Otherwise we get not a more equal society, but more bloodshed, more injustice, more fraud, more hacking, more thefts, and just more terrible things. Because the source of all evil is in that rebelling against Royaume Truths. The said Prince of Judah is Slash, Saul Hudson. He and I are performer, and we were introduced when we were both babies, when he was with his family, of course, were living in England. A long time ago, 1960s. I say that because I say it all because the truth saves lives. Honor the Creator according to the Creator's wishes. The precepts of the Lord are the same as the precepts of the Lady, the Lord. They are one. The Creator is one. The Godhead is one. Honorable hearts can save lives because it leads to honorable deeds. Amen and amen. God bless you all. Haze of thank yous to the one Creator. Haze of blessings to the one Creator. Haze of praises to you, Almighty Qemam Elyon. I'll talk a bit more, I hope, on the Creator's religious performer, changed performer, a deep, fascinating subject and very real. Blessings to you and thank you.